Welcome back. I'm attorney Patrick Silva, patricktheattorney.com, and today we're going to answer the question, can you win the unbeatable DUI case? Stick around and find out. I get this question all the time. Aren't DUIs unbeatable? Well, let's talk about a recent case of mine, and we'll call my client Jack Daniels. So Jack is driving down the road, and he just left the bar with his girlfriend. In California, we have CHP officers, and the CHP officers have these dash cameras on the front of their car. It's called MVARs, mobile video audio recording. Well, we subpoena the MVAR, and we see Jack driving past the CHP cop doing about 93 miles an hour. He's in a big truck, construction area. Cop zips up behind him, pulls him over, and they pull into the parking lot of the Denny's. Cop pulls him out, and he starts asking him the questions. Well, at this point, he goes through the questions. Have you been drinking? Where are you coming from? Where are you going? What did you have to drink? What did you have to eat? And at this point, Jack's complying. He's, trying to talk his way out of it. And then ultimately the officer arrests Jack and he puts him in handcuffs. At that point, Jack is told that he has to take a blood or breath test. And Jack starts saying, well, I want to talk to my lawyer first. Well, in California, you don't have a right to talk to a lawyer before your blood or breath. Some states allow you that right. However, Jack refused. So the officer, he went and got a search warrant. And he had a judge call a search warrant. And here in California, it doesn't take very much. You basically send an email, and then 20 minutes later, a judge reads your affidavit, signs it, sends it back to you, and you have a search warrant. The problem is that in California, they want to take away your license for refusing. Since this was Jack's first DUI in the state of California, he would have lost his license for 1 year. Well, you might think, well, okay, he could get a ride to work. Here's the problem. Jack has a Class A commercial truck driving license, which means he'll lose his Class A license for a year and he'll be unemployed. Jack was a lineman, which means he's up on the power poles fixing poles and lights and big wires. He would have been out of a job. So there's two fights in Jack's case, the refusal, and then we have the court. Now, Jack ultimately had a blood result of a .17. So there's two huge fights going on here. Now, over on the DMV side, we have vehicle code 23612, and it says that the officer has to give you this admonition. Well, luckily, through the dash camera that we got, we could see the officer did not satisfy the components of 23612. He didn't tell him that if he refused that he could lose his license for 1 year suspension or 2 or 3 years of revocation. And then he didn't follow up with a second question, will you take a blood, will you take a breath? Over in the DMV, this is called an APS hearing, an administrative per se hearing. So we did the APS hearing and we won. So that saved Jack's license. Now, Jack's not out of the woods because he's looking at a refusal on the DMV side of 1 year on his Class A and 1 year on his Class C if we lose it. So by the grace of God, hard work, we'll just call it being good and lucky, we win. Now we have the court to deal with. Over on the court, if Jack pleads guilty to a DUI, Jack is going to trigger a DMV suspension, and they're going to take away his Class A for a year. So is this double jeopardy? It might be, but in the sense of the criminal sense, no. But he's getting hit twice, so he could lose it for a year here on the DMV and a year here on the court. Now, if he pleads guilty here, he could lose it for a year and he could downgrade and keep his driver's license to go to work or from work, but he's going to be out of a job because he's a lineman. He needs his Class A to drive that big old truck. Now, during this time, we said, okay, the DA's not budging. They say, no, we're not going to negotiate. It's a DUI. And at that point, we said, all right, let's roll the dice. Let's go to trial. So we set it for trial and we get on the trial calendar and we call this chasing a courtroom. In California, once we say ready for trial, we have 10 days for them to get us a courtroom. And at this point in time, there was a big backlog. So we show up on day 0 and we don't get a courtroom. We come back a couple days later. That's called 3 of 10. We don't get a courtroom. We come back later, 7 of 10, no courtroom. We come back on the last day, 10 of 10, no courtroom. So there were a couple courtrooms, but those went to a couple murder cases. So at this point, the judge does one thing and he says, okay, there's no courtrooms available. At that point, I had with me already a prepared motion to dismiss speedy trial right, Penal Code 1382. And 430, 420, when there was no courtrooms on day 10 of 10, we filed a motion because it has to be filed that day. If you don't file that day, you lose your rights. So we file it and we have it heard the next day. We come back the next day and we are hearing not whether we're going to get a courtroom, we're hearing on whether we were denied our right to a speedy trial. And since we were denied our right under the motion I filed, 1382, the case got dismissed. So Jack Daniels got really lucky. We beat the DMV refusal, saved him 1 year. Over here, we beat the court case and we saved his Class A from 1 year of suspension, and he could have downgraded to a Class C, which is driving your Honda Accord to and from work. But we saved his job. Very happy client. And when he first came to me, he said, my friends at work are telling me, don't waste your money on a lawyer. They ain't gonna do nothing for you. Well, this case took us a good 9-10 months, and I still remembered that. And I told Jack, I said, hey, when you go back and see the boys at work, make sure you tell them how you beat this case and you still have a job. And he's like, yes, sir, I sure will. So again, can you win the unbeatable case? Some lawyers can, some lawyers can't, but you never know. And there's an old saying, you miss all the swings that you don't take. So Attorney Patrick Silva, have a great day.